another person who Uncle Murder talked about was Andre 3000 and that Flute album.
Yeah.
And I remember I did a tweet. I remember when it first dropped, it didn't have a lot of views. I basically said, like, this album is ridiculous. He should have dropped it. No one's listening to the shit. And then, you know, got like maybe a couple million views afterwards. So everyone's like getting on me like, man, it ain't about views or streams. It's about art. And you don't get it. You know, this is him being artistic. It's so brilliant. But my thing is like.
It is brilliant when you think about it because it was promoted. Everybody wants to hear him rap, which he said something like he's
too old to rap.
Nah, I don't believe that.
He said that.
I think Andre 3000 is like one of the best. I think when it comes to Atlanta rap, he's like one of the artists to really cross over. Not saying like there's not a million artists that crossed over, but what I'm saying, he was different.
No, Hey Ya was a mega
Even
hit.
the way he dressed, like he just was like a fucking, like one of the first rock stars.
Yeah, shout out to Erykah Badu.
Yeah, Erykah Badu turned him into a rock star, I guess.
Exactly.
You know, shout out to Erykah Badu, I love her. But she turned him into a rock star, man. Hey, yeah, mad hits.
Oh, Outkast is a
Sorry, Miss
superstar
Jackson.
group. Yeah, they have a bunch.
They just made some mainstream, mega hits.
Exactly.
So, but people would love to hear, because he just had a verse on Killer Mike album, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
And he killed that shit.
Yeah. But he was basically saying he's too old to rap. But you know, what am I gonna rap about? My vision not being as good. I gotta go get my colon checked. Like,
but what I'm saying is he could feel like that. But when I heard him on Killer Mike,
he was nice.
Killer Mike album, and I think Future's on the record.
Yeah,
shout out to Killer Mike. He had one of the dopest albums of the year.
Shout out to Killer Mike.
Killer Mike album, I heard his verses. Fucking dope. I kept rewinding his verse.
Yeah,
him, Future, and Killer Mike.
I mean, my whole point is
so like, he could feel like that. But
yeah, when
I listened to the Killer Mike album, I was excited to hear him spit on there.
Right. So what was your favorite song on the Flute album?
I didn't listen to the Flute album.
Right. And that was the whole thing that people want to call it. See, like, I'm fine with being the bad guy a lot of times because I'll say the shit that no one else wants to say. And my shit is that Flute album was trash. Okay? Coming from one of the great rappers of all time.
But nobody wants to hear Andre 3000 play a flute.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's art, so
that's
like
what
you
I'm
said,
saying.
People are going to be like, respect it, and everybody's going to have an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. But we want to hear him spit.
Exactly.
Like I just said, he's saying, oh, I'm too old to rap. I just heard your verse on Killer Mike's album.
Right.
Shout to Killer Mike again with Future. And that was one of my favorite songs.
Right.
I actually got the album.
Right. I listened to the album. It's a good album.
Killer Mike put out a
great
dope
album, actually. But what I'm saying is like, look, if you want to play the flute, that's cool. But to put it out and everything else like that, you know, like, just because it's artistic doesn't mean that it's a great project.
It's perfect marketing because we're talking about it now.
Right.
If he rapped, we would have talked about it. He played a flute, he didn't rap, and he still sold a good amount of records because he played the flute. And maybe now that we're talking about it, I might go listen to it.
Okay.
Because I did see somebody online playing it, but I'm not a flute guy. Like, I never
Nobody's a flute guy.
I might listen to orchestra music, some Beethoven or something, before I just loosen to a flute.
Shout out to Kenny G. Kenny G went platinum with the flute.
Kenny G, Kenny G. You gotta respect it. If he goes platinum off playing the flute, you would be fucking impressed.
I guess, man. Me and the DOC had a conversation about this, and he was like, "Hey, man, art is art." And I'm like, "Doc, like you're hip hop, right? You wrote for Eazy-E, like you wrote for Dr. Dre. You made Snoop. Like he basically developed Snoop into the artist that he was."
Right.
I'm like, "Are you bumping this flute album?" He's like, "No, I'm not." And I'm like, "Okay,
and
that's my point."
DOC, I've been in the studio with him. That was a great moment in hip hop.
Yeah, that's my point. That hip hop fans are not bumping this, and that's my point. That's just my only point. Okay, you dropped the flute album, everyone was disappointed.
Nobody's going to really check for a flute album. We want to hear you spit Andre 3000. So if you're watching this, we love you. I loved your verse on Killer Mike album with Future. It's one of my favorite songs. Shout out to you, Future, and Killer Mike. Drop an album. We want to hear you rap.
Exactly.
That's it. You're not too old, trust me. Everybody loves you, and you're one of the greatest, and your last verse was remarkable you just dropped, bro.